And beyond stardom this time, an assortment of big hitters who have thrived by diversifying. This basketball giant is a reserve officer with the LA Port Police. Standing at over 7 feet tall and weighing 325 pounds, he'd give Shaquille O'Neal more than a sporting chance against a runaway pickpocket. In 2005, the Miami Heat star was given an honorary US Deputy Marshal title after completing his police training. And in January 2007, he put that training into practice after his Cadillac was hit by another driver in a hit and run. The big Shaq called the police and pursued the driver at a safe distance and speed, in line with standard police procedure. The offending 18-year-old driver was duly apprehended. Along with his Deputy Marshal title, Shaquille was also named spokesman for the Safe Surfing Foundation, which tracks down sexual predators who target children on the internet. Community protection duties form just one of the career sidelines enjoyed by one of the most celebrated basketball players in history. Nicknamed the Big Baryshnikov, the Real Deal and the Eighth Wonder, Shaquille O'Neal helped his Texas high school team to a 68-1 record during his 2 years there. And in 1992, he was drafted as the first overall pick in the National Basketball Association by the Orlando Magic, going on to become the NBA Rookie of the Year. He didn't really hit his straps until halfway through his $122 million 7-year contract with the LA Lakers. Along with the star shooting guard Kobe Bryant, he helped the Lakers to 3 consecutive NBA titles from 2000 to 2002 and was named the league's most valuable player all 3 years. He still boasts the highest scoring average for a center in NBA Finals history. However, in 2003, cracks started to appear in the team and the Lakers failed to reach the finals. The situation wasn't helped when an off-season slanging match kicked off between its star players after Kobe was accused of raping a young woman from Colorado. Kobe allegedly told the police he should have followed Shaquille's example and simply paid the woman off. The famously eloquent Shaquille retorted by pretending he'd never heard of Kobe in press interviews. Whatever the reason for the falling out, Shaq turned down offers of a contract renewal and headed off to join Miami Heat at the age of 32.
When you put a bunch of old lions with young lions, the old lion will do 2 things: run away and be old, or be young like the young lions. I hope that made sense. So what I'm trying to say is, I know me and Eddie, we're 32 and 31. We got a lot of young guys, and we're going to do well, and I'm very excited. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to play hard.
Within 2 years, the Heat had won their first NBA championship and scored an invitation to the White House.
They weren't supposed to win, and they did something no team has done in nearly 30 years, which is win 4 straight and become the NBA champs. And your fans are really proud of you. And then, of course, probably the most well-known figures in the United States of America. It's a fellow it's hard to miss. A fellow Texan, Big Shaq.
That's Dr. Shaq to you, George. The recent addendum to his list of nicknames was introduced after he completed an MBA degree at the University of Phoenix in 2005, which he hopes will get him a real job when he finally retires from basketball. He has also been referred to as Superman and has taken the title seriously enough to involve himself in working towards the greater good.
Christopher Reeve was a good friend of mine. I did a lot for his organization, and he was a great guy. He was always nice to me. He actually called me Superman when I first met him. He was like, "Hey, Superman," and I was like, "Hey, Superman." So, it was sort of like me being a kid in a candy store.
In true Superman tradition, he was one of the first celebrities on the scene to offer help and inspiration to those made homeless by Hurricane Katrina.
Shaq being here is important because it gives the families here hope. Mr. Gregory gives them hope and opportunity to see that life will go on, that things will get better, and that people of his stature care. They care that the fact that Shaq is important to their well-being and make sure that they get just the basic needs, and he's here as almost a protector for these people. They're looking for him to be a person that looks out for them.
Over the past 15 years, he's also been forging a career in the media. His witty repartee and eloquent responses in interviews have earned him regular appearances on TV shows and in documentaries. In 2005, ESPN gave him his own reality show, simply entitled Shaquille. He's also released several rap albums and appeared in a number of movies, including Scary Movie 4. In 2006, he was invited to host General Motors' third annual All-Car Showdown, which included the famous King of Bling contest.
Oh, it feels pretty good. I just get to come out here, hang out with all my friends, and look at all their whips, look at all of their originality, all their personality, and all their vitality. Does that make sense?
This paparazzi favorite competed in state-level gymnastic competitions as a schoolgirl. By the age of 8, Britney Spears had already auditioned for Disney Channel's kiddie talent show, The New Mickey Mouse Club. She had another 3 years of growing up to do before producers would let her join the illustrious gang, and in the meantime, she attended New York's Professional Performing Arts School. On the show, she met future boyfriend Justin Timberlake. They became a big-ticket item ahead of Britney's explosive solo debut in 1998 and stayed together until 2002. The provocative schoolgirl image helped propel her debut album Baby One More Time to certified diamond status, selling 25 million copies worldwide and rocketing Britney to international superstardom at the age of 17. Her second album, Oops, I Did It Again, debuted at #1 in America 2 years later, breaking the record of first-week sales for any solo artist. Britney set off on her first world tour, and in 2002, at just 21 years of age, she was crowned by Forbes magazine as the world's most powerful celebrity. Unfortunately, much of Britney's behavior since then has fueled speculation that it was all too much too soon. A quickie Las Vegas marriage to childhood friend Jason Alexander in 2004 that ended just as quickly was followed by a cancelled tour and tears in a Diane Sawyer television interview. Then came her marriage to dancer Kevin Federline, who had recently abandoned his first wife when she was 8 months pregnant with his second child. Since then, there have been 2 baby boys, a divorce, several trips to rehab and court, a shaved head, tattoos, and an endless supply of photos and newsreels documenting the demise of Britney's mental health.
The girl has no peace. She is constantly in the news. She can't do anything. She can't go anywhere without people just hounding her. And this has got to take a terrible toll.
Despite all the shocking revelations and predictions of an early exit from public life, Britney has proved she's not quite ready to give it all away yet. Weeks after being charged with a hit-and-run driving offense, she appeared at the 2007 MTV Movie Awards and performed her new single, Gimme More. Looking out of shape and stumbling through her performance, she drew widespread criticism, but the publicity ended up helping her to her most successful single since Baby One More Time. In November, after being denied custody of her 2 boys, she released her 5th studio album, Blackout.
It shows a lot of growth in her as a performer. Definitely she is hands-on in the process, very involved with the songs and how they turn out, because it's her magic that turns these songs into what they are.
Many critics have claimed Blackout is Britney's best work to date.
Plenty in there for people to love, so just take your pick, whether it's the verse or the chorus or just the beat or whatever, or just if you're a hardcore fan of Britney, you're gonna love it anyway.
She's also been keeping busy with some of her side projects, like her booming perfume empire.
I'm so excited and proud because my very first 2 fragrances, Curious and Fantasy, were 2 of the biggest and most successful launches of the last 5 years. And I've just been told that I've sold over 10 million bottles of fragrance.
In May 2006, she added another.
In Control, my latest fragrance, which I absolutely love, is just out in department stores like Macy's everywhere now.
Perhaps it was an appreciation of the irony that went into the naming of her 3rd fragrance that helped Control meet its sales targets. Perfume house Elizabeth Arden was only too happy to push on with the release of her next 2 scents, Midnight Fantasy and Believe. This manic comedian was a close college friend of Superman star Christopher Reeve. In fact, while many of Christopher's friends were left speechless after the tragic riding accident that robbed him of all movement from the neck down, Robin was disguising himself as a Russian doctor and threatening to perform a colonoscopy. But then the boy from Illinois is rarely lost for words. Journalists attempting to transcribe his press conference in Berlin in 2004 would have been left with rather sore wrists as he talked about his return to stand-up comedy.
It took me a long time because I was doing movies during those times, and that paid the bills. Secondly, it just seemed I didn't get enough. When you go out and do a stand-up show like that, you have to go out for like 4 months and get ready. And in America, there's a little bit to talk about right now, especially with Bush complaining about the failure of intelligence, which seems kind of redundant. But, you know, there's the known knowns. Those are things we know we know. And then there are the known unknowns. Those are things we know we don't know. And then there are the unknown unknowns, and I don't have a clue what that means.
Perhaps the German reporters were thinking they may have lost something in translation. They would scarcely have been any the wiser when he tackled the subject of his 2004 film, The Final Cut. Set in a world of the future, his character has the power of editing people's recorded histories.
I mean, with my character in this, you have a man who has to sit there and literally look at horrible things and make the choice to lose them. And yet, you know, he's a bit like a combination mortician and priest, which would be a good gig to have anyway. Especially right now when a lot of priests are looking for work. Yeah, come on, Timmy. Come on, boys, wash up. Sorry, there's a couple of Catholics going, shh. We're waiting for the Gibson movie. I can't wait till they do the McDonald's meal for that one.
Mommy, my hamburger changed. And my Coke turned into wine.
Without so much as a segue or pause for breath, he managed to steer the subject to the Academy Awards.
For the Oscars, you just, it's the hardest for ladies, because it's, you know, a lot of times they don't look at men's, you know, it's the same tuxedo pretty much for everybody except for Daniel Day-Lewis, who can wear like a robe and they'll go, phew. Or I'd like to just come one time, well, beyond Janet Jackson, just wear a two-piece outfit, socks. And just watch the Christian right go,
He was in equally fluid form when he arrived to entertain US troops stationed in Afghanistan.
Good morning, Baghdad! Welcome! It's a lovely flight in, thank you. I love spiraling in. Nothing like that to make your colon go fire in the hole.
But like so many other lightning-witted funny men, Robin's talent for keeping everyone in stitches has not staved off his own demons that have led him to addictions to cocaine and alcohol. While never confirming whether or not he suffers from bipolar disorder, many commentators have speculated on his wild behavioral swings. One thing that is not in doubt is his amazing versatility as a performer. Not only is he an inspired comedian and comic actor, he is also celebrated as a serious dramatic actor. After scoring nominations for his roles in Dead Poets Society and The Fisher King, he finally won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar as the therapist in Good Will Hunting in 1996. He extended his repertoire in 2002 by playing back-to-back psychopaths in Insomnia and 1 Hour Photo. In 2006, he was on the receiving end of other people's psychological problems and faced a stalker played by Toni Collette in The Night Listener.
Having had not characters like this, but other, you know, in the past, having strange people contact you, and that idea of people, you know, and people who will be very nice with you in the moment. If you deny what they say, they get, you know, like Tony, very kind of, they flip on you. They switch, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't mean to scare you. And it's like, if you don't say exactly what they want to hear, it can be quite scary.
By the end of the year, after a stint in rehab to treat his relapse into drinking, he set his sights on the top job, playing a comedian who makes a run for the White House.
Why not? We've had a wrestler, we've had an action star, we've had an actor who's also been a spokesperson. A comic brings a certain amount of honesty. You may have a 2-drink minimum at the State of the Union, so that's the drill. But you could do worse, as they say. You can have a guy, I mean, there's a lot of great comics. Al Franken may run and probably win in Minnesota.
This ex-supermodel is one of only 4 African Americans and 7 women to have repeatedly ranked among the world's most influential people by Time magazine. Opting to go to Paris to pursue a modeling career instead of going to university, Tyra Banks set a record, scoring 25 engagements in her very first week. She went on to have a wildly successful career, both in print and on the runway. She regularly worked for labels like Bill Blass, Dolce & Gabbana, Christian Dior, and lingerie giant Victoria's Secret. She was also the centerpiece of advertising campaigns for the likes of CoverGirl, Coors Light, and McDonald's. She has appeared on the covers of Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, and Elle, and became the first African-American woman to adorn the covers of GQ and the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. One magazine she has stubbornly refused to pose for is Playboy, despite being inundated with requests from Hugh Hefner. She gave the modeling away in 2005 to concentrate on her television career, which had begun on the 4th season of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
And when I woke up this morning, I was nervous.
However, in an interview with old rival Naomi Campbell on her own talk show, she spilled the beans on why she really retired from modeling.
Me and you, there's not a lot of hoopla,
right.
But I didn't want to have to be super healthy and eat only chicken and vegetables. But that's only 50% of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other half of that is I was tired of having to deal with you.
The legend goes that the 14-year feud was kicked off by Naomi's insecurity. Believing that there was only room at the top for one black model, she supposedly set about sabotaging the younger model's career. If the stories are true, it seemed that Tyra may have learned a trick or two from her quick-to-temper nemesis. The winner of the first series of America's Next Top Model, Adrienne Curry, recently spoke out against the show's host and creator, calling her Jekyll and Hyde. Adrienne explained that while the cameras are rolling, she can be the sweetest person in the world, but once the camera is off, she's Naomi Campbell, in your face and mean. Still, there is no shortage of viewers who are convinced of her charms. Now well into its 3rd season, the Tyra Banks Show attracts more than 1.9 million viewers an episode, which sells itself under the slogan, "Every woman has a story, and it happened to Tyra." Of course, she doesn't always mean that literally, especially when asking Heather Mills to share her experiences of dancing on one leg. However, she did go out and get some first-hand experience of being an exotic dancer. For an episode of her show, she was transformed into rookie stripper Chanel, donning wig, fake teeth, a prosthetic nose, and a lot of makeup. Her undercover mission was to find out why men go to strip joints and what they get out of it. One topic of discussion she can truly relate to is the issue of weight and body image. Teased about her size as a child, Tyra was a pretty hefty teenager before slimming down to catwalk size. On America's Top Model, she has been a consistent advocate of body confidence, insisting that models don't need to be stick-thin to be sexy. At a recent launch of Time magazine's list of 100 people who shape the world, the magazine's deputy managing editor paid tribute to her worthy crusade to combat body image problems in the fashion industry.
She's not the only person, but she's probably been the most effective public person to sort of talk up the folly really of forcing our models to be this kind of irregular, unlikely sort of shape. And particularly with her background, it's been very brave of her to do that, and she's done it effectively. So she's there really as a symbol of this kind of new attention that's being paid to do models have to be so absurdly skinny.
This Uber entrepreneur started up his first 2 ventures at the age of 15, although his attempts at growing Christmas trees and raising budgerigars failed to get off the ground. But by 17, he was living in London and running his first successful business, Student Magazine, and had already set up his first charity, the Student Advisory Centre. His music empire owes its genesis to selling discounted records from the boot of his car, and his company name arose from his status as a business virgin. Having stacked up enough cash from his record store on London's Oxford Street to buy an estate, he launched Virgin Records in 1972 along with its first release. Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells went on to become a #1 hit and embarrass the many other record companies that had turned it down. Virgin also picked up punk pariahs The Sex Pistols and later signed Boy George's Culture Club. Reaching for the skies with the launch of Virgin Atlantic Airways in 1984, he was eventually forced to sell Virgin Records to EMI in 1992, but he still keeps his finger on the musical pulse with new label V2 and the retail chain Virgin Megastore. Sir Richard's knack for keeping ahead of trends has helped him become Britain's 6th richest man, with a personal fortune estimated at between £2 and £4 billion, and a 74-acre island in where else but the British Virgin Islands. His passion for innovation has put him at the forefront of all kinds of new technology. In 2005, he was exploring the possibility of being 2 places at once with a holographic double.
Well, hello, good morning, and thanks very much for coming.
While his virtual likeness was launching the product in London, the real Richard Branson was thousands of miles away in the Caribbean. A very handy gadget for a man who has so many projects on the go at once, such as attempting to break world records. One of his most recent barrier-breaking goals was to provide Steve Fossett with the tools to circumnavigate the globe without refueling.
It's a magnificent plane that's been built for the sole purpose of trying to fly around the world non-stop on a solo flight. It's a plane that's been built of very light composites. It will carry 5 to 6 times its weight in fuel, and it's been built here in the Mojave Desert, and we feel that it has the capability of going the whole way around the world.
Steve went on to endure 76 hours and 45 minutes in the Global Flyer's cramped cabin to establish a new aviation long-distance record of 26,389.3 miles. Virgin is also investing heavily in the space race. Its new spaceship fleet, Virgin Galactic, aims to rocket those with $200,000 and a few hours to spare into suborbit within the next few years.
Well, it's a dream that I've had, since I was a child. The idea of, one day going into space. To actually be building 5 spaceships, I have to pinch myself sometime when I wake up in the morning. And in 2.5 years' time, we'll be taking people into space, and we'll be giving people, I think, the experience of a lifetime. And my ultimate dream is that in time we'll be able to bring the prices down and down and down, so that literally, millions of people will have the chance to experience space.
While he's been busy burning up the atmosphere on the one hand, Sir Richard has been making a conscious effort to redress the balance by vowing to plough the profits from Virgin Atlantic and his new Virgin Trains enterprise into research for environmentally friendly fuels. A former global warming skeptic, he claims he saw the light after having breakfast with environmental evangelist Al Gore.
I think that the real worry about global warming is something which has only really lit up in the last couple of years. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I hadn't fully appreciated the dangers until the last 12 months, 18 months. Now I realise the dangers. I know we've got to do something about it. We've got to, spend money investing in alternative fuels, and in the meantime, we've got to cut our CO2 emissions as dramatically as we possibly can.
He's also been ploughing his self-starting business skills back into the community, lending his name and know-how to the Branson School of Entrepreneurship at CIDA University in Johannesburg.
Africa's a wonderful place, and it's been through so much misery, and a lot of it so unnecessary and so much affliction. And Taddy said something wonderful earlier. He mentioned all these handouts from America, but he actually ended by saying, empires do not last forever, and maybe in 50 or 60 or 70 years' time, America will be coming hat in hand to South Africa once we've got all these entrepreneurs up there with their successful businesses.